The bonobo, formerly called the pygmy chimpanzee and less often, the dwarf or gracile chimpanzee, is an endangered great ape and one of the two species making up the genus Pan. The other is Pan troglodytes, or the common chimpanzee. Although the name chimpanzee is sometimes used to refer to both species together, it is usually understood as referring to the common chimpanzee, whereas Pan paniscus is usually referred to as the bonobo. The bonobo is distinguished by relatively long legs, pink lips, dark face and tail tuft through adulthood, and parted long hair on its head. The bonobo is found in a 500,000 square kilometers area of the Congo Basin in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Central Africa. The species is omnivorous and inhabits primary and secondary forests, including seasonally inundated swamp forests. Political instability in the region and the timidity of bonobos has meant there has been relatively little field work done observing the species in its natural habitat. Along with the common chimpanzee, the bonobo is the closest extant relative to humans. Because the two species are not proficient swimmers, the formation of the Congo River 1.5–2 million years ago possibly led to the speciation of the bonobo. Bonobos live south of the river, and thereby were separated from the ancestors of the common chimpanzee, which live north of the river. There is no concrete data on population numbers, but the estimate is between 29,500 and 50,000 individuals. The species is listed as endangered on the IUCN Red List and is threatened by habitat destruction and human population growth and movement. Though commercial poaching is the most prominent threat, they typically live 40 years in captivity. Their lifespan in the wild is unknown. Etymology. Despite the alternative common name of pygmy chimpanzee, the bonobo is not especially diminutive when compared to the common chimpanzee. Pygmy may instead refer to the pygmy peoples who live in the same area. The name is thought to be a misspelling on a shipping crate from the town of Bonobo on the Congo River, which was associated with the collection of chimps in the 1920s. The term has also been reported as being a word for ancestor in an extinct Bantu language. Evolutionary history. Fossils of Pan species were not described until 2005. Existing chimpanzee populations in western Central Africa do not overlap with the major human fossil sites in East Africa. However, Pan fossils have now been reported from Kenya. This would indicate that both humans and members of the Pan clade were present in the East African Rift Valley during the Middle Pleistocene. According to A. Zillman, bonobo body proportions closely resemble those of Australopithecus, leading evolutionary biologists like Jeremy Griffith to suggest that bonobos may be a living example of our distant human ancestors. Taxonomy and phylogeny. German anatomist Ernst Schwarz is credited with being the first Westerner to recognize the bonobo as being distinctive, in 1928, based on his analysis of a skull in the Tervuren Museum in Belgium that previously had been thought to have belonged to a juvenile chimpanzee. Schwarz published his findings in 1929. In 1933, American anatomist Harold Coolidge offered a more detailed description of the bonobo, and elevated it to species status. The American psychologist and primatologist Robert Yerkes was also one of the first scientists to notice major differences between bonobos and chimpanzees. These were first discussed in detail in a study by Eduard Paul Tratz and Heinz Heck published in the early 1950s. The first official publication of the sequencing and assembly of the bonobo genome became publicly available in June 2012. It was deposited with the International Nucleotide Sequence Database Collaboration under the EMBL accession number AJFE01000000 after a previous analysis by the National Human Genome Research Institute confirmed that the bonobo genome is about 0.4% divergent from the chimpanzee genome. In addition, as of 2011 update, Svante Pääbo's group at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology were sequencing the genome of a female bonobo from the Leipzig Zoo. Initial genetic studies characterized the DNA of chimpanzees and bonobos as being 98% to 99.4% identical to that of Homo sapiens. Later studies showed that chimpanzees and bonobos are more closely related to humans than to gorillas. In the crucial Nature paper reporting on initial genome comparisons, researchers identified 35 million single nucleotide changes, 5 million insertion or deletion events, and a number of chromosomal rearrangements which constituted the genetic differences between the two pan-species and humans, covering 98% of the same genes. While many of these analyses have been performed on the common chimpanzee rather than the bonobo, the differences between the two pan-species are unlikely to be substantial enough to affect the pan-homo comparison significantly. There still is controversy, however. Scientists such as Jared Diamond in The Third Chimpanzee, and Morris Goodman of Wayne State University in Detroit suggest that the bonobo and common chimpanzee are so closely related to humans that their genus name also should be classified with the human genus Homo, Homo paniscus, Homo sylvestris, or Homo arboreus. An alternative philosophy suggests that the term Homo sapiens is the misnomer rather, and that humans should be reclassified as pan-sapiens, though this would violate the principle of priority, as Homo was named before Pan. In either case, a name change of the genus would have implications on the taxonomy of extinct species closely related to humans, including Australopithecus. The current line between Homo and non-Homo species is drawn about 2.5 million years ago, and chimpanzee and human ancestry converge only about 7 million years ago, nearly 3 times longer. DNA evidence suggests the bonobo and common chimpanzee species effectively separated from each other fewer than 1 million years ago. The pan line split from the last common ancestor shared with humans approximately 6 to 7 million years ago, because no species other than Homo sapiens has survived from the human line of that branching. Both pan-species are the closest living relatives of humans and cladistically are equally close to humans. The recent genome data confirms the genetic equidistance. Description: the bonobo is commonly considered to be more gracile than the common chimpanzee. Although large male chimpanzees can exceed any bonobo in bulk and weight, the two species actually broadly overlap in body size. Adult female bonobos are somewhat smaller than adult males. Body mass in males ranges from 34 to 60 kilograms, against an average of 30 kilograms in females. The total length of bonobos is 70 to 83 centimeters. When adult bonobos and chimpanzees stand up on their legs, they can both attain a height of 115 centimeters. The bonobo's head is relatively smaller than that of the common chimpanzee, with less prominent brow ridges above the eyes. It has a black face with pink lips, smaller ears, wide nostrils, and long hair on its head that forms a parting. Females have slightly more prominent breasts, in contrast to the flat breasts of other female apes, although not so prominent as those of humans. The bonobo also has a slim upper body, narrow shoulders, thin neck, and long legs when compared to the common chimpanzee. Bonobos are both terrestrial and arboreal. Most ground locomotion is characterized by quadrupedal knuckle walking. Bipedal walking has been recorded as less than 1% of terrestrial locomotion in the wild, a figure that decreased with habituation. While in captivity, there is a wide variation. Bipedal walking in captivity, as a percentage of bipedal plus quadrupedal locomotion bouts, has been observed from 3.9% for spontaneous bouts to nearly 19% when abundant food is provided. These physical characteristics and its posture give the bonobo an appearance more closely resembling that of humans than that of the common chimpanzee. The bonobo also has highly individuated facial features, as humans do, so that one individual may look significantly different from another, a characteristic adapted for visual facial recognition in social interaction. Multivariate analysis has shown bonobos are more neotenized than the common chimpanzee, taking into account such features as the proportionately long torso length of the bonobo. Other researchers challenged this conclusion.